the Constitutional Court will hand down judgment on whether Parliament should start impeachment proceedings against President Jacob Zuma. The EFF approached the court in September seeking an order to direct Parliament to consider whether Zuma's conduct was impeachable. This follows the 2016 Constitutional Court ruling that the President failed to uphold, defend and respect the Constitution when he did not adhere to the remedial actions called for by former Public Protector Thuli Madonsela. This was after more than 200 million rands of public money was spent in upgrading his Nkandla homestead.
If the motion of no confidence or the motion of removing the president by the DA had succeeded, that would have constituted holding the president to account, would it?
Yes, indeed.
This is the first hurdle the parties face. After the Nkandla judgment, the DA pushed for motion of no confidence against President Jacob Zuma, but it was unsuccessful. The EFF argues that the motion was premature.
I would submit with respect to Justice Chafter, whether you do attribute that process to the National Assembly or you don't, actually does not answer the case of the EFF before this court, because the case of the EFF before this court is that there has been a failure of the duty to scrutinize, and there's therefore been a failure of the duty to hold to account.
The EFF and the UDM want the president to appear before an ad hoc committee which will have the powers to subpoena witnesses. Counsel representing the Speaker of Parliament argued that the Constitution is not explicit on what mechanisms should be employed in case of a violation.
And it doesn't say if in particular circumstances, if you don't impeach, you have not held the president to account. That's not what the Constitution does.
And then a second hurdle for the opposition parties. They will need at least a two-thirds majority to have the president impeached. This is more demanding than the 50% plus one needed in a motion of no confidence. All 8 have failed previously. But unlike before, this time around, President Zuma is no longer the leader of the ANC. Aldrin Simpier, SABC News, Johannesburg.